What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Reformed Reader, the channel where we review different forms of media through the lens of a Christian who is under the authority of the scriptures. My name is Josh, and today we're going to be going over my top 10 favorite authors of all time, at least as of the time of recording this, and I hope that changes. So before we jump right into it, just a couple quick rules that I set up for myself, the chief one being that I must have read at least 2 books from this author, and this was a little more difficult than I thought it would be, because there's a lot of one-offs that I've read, and then a lot of the authors on this list I've read more than 5 to 10 books of. And so it was a little bit harder to narrow it down. So before we jump into the top 10 list, let's go over 2 honorable mentions. The first one being A.M. Wiley. For those of you guys that have kept up with the channel at all, you know how much I've really enjoyed Mr. Wiley's books this past year. The first one being Weird Space. Really loved this book. I said it was sort of like The Goonies meets The Last Starfighter. It's fantastic. It's a ton of fun. And then I finished The Heart Taker earlier this month, which I also really enjoyed, which makes me want to dive into Weird Space 2, Dawn of the Warriors. I'll be diving into that next month. And he's planning on putting out another horror-esque book. I think it's about vampires called Fangloria. Maybe I'll put the cover art somewhere right here. Looks really cool. Really excited about getting into those. But yeah, I've loved his books, and the reason why I put him as an honorable mention is because he is so new to me, and I have a feeling as I dive into Weird Space 2 that he will probably bump somebody else off this list, because I've just had so much fun reading his books. Not to mention, he's a great guy. So yeah, he's honorable mention number 1. Honorable mention number 2 is similar in the sense that it's another indie published author that I've read this year, and that is Z.S. Diamani. So I have read Guard in the Garden by Z.S. Diamani. I read that this year. Absolutely loved it. It was exactly what I needed when I needed it. I really needed a palate cleanse. I was really kind of dealing with some fantasy burnout, and it was just nice to sit down with that wholesome story. So I absolutely loved Guard in the Garden, and I was planning on jumping into his Stone and Sky series, and I've just been putting it off. My son has actually just finished up book 1, so I plan to jump into book 1 soon, but I do know that I will be reading Wagons and Wyverns with a couple of friends of mine next month. So there's a lot of potential there for him to be able to knock somebody else off this list, because I've really enjoyed those 2 authors this year. So without any further ado, let's jump into number 10 and just come out swinging with a bit of a controversial one, which is Patrick Rothfuss. Yeah, so I absolutely loved Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. These 2 books are 2 of the books that I can't stop thinking about. I will find myself dwelling on some of the intricacies and some of the crazy plotting that's going on, and a lot of the theories about what's going to happen. Is such a fantastic story for me. I know it's not for everybody, but for me, I have absolutely loved these 2 books. I read them back to back, which personally, I think that's the way to go, to read it as sort of like one cohesive story, but have absolutely loved those 2. And one of his novellas, The Slow Regard of Silent Things, that's actually fantastic as well, looking at a bit of a different perspective. But Patrick Rothfuss is such a good writer that he can write some of the more mundane things and make them extremely compelling to read. Now, I know a lot of people say,
well, he could write a menu and I could read it.
No, there still has to be a story there, but his descriptors, the way he's able to compare things, and for those of you that are musicians who have read that one particular scene in Name of the Wind, yeah, you know it's going to be difficult to see somebody else be able to master their craft as well as he has. So it makes sense why it has taken so long for him to put out book 3, because he is so intentional about these things. But I have absolutely loved Patrick Rothfuss's work thus far, which is why he's number 10 on the list. Okay, number 9 is going to be Ryan Cahill. So this is the author of the Bound and the Broken series. This is another indie author. I started reading Ryan, I believe, last year, and I read all the way through Of War and Ruin, and I currently have book 4 waiting on me. And part of the reason why I haven't gotten to it yet is because this thing is massive. I absolutely love this story. It's fantastic, and you can really see Ryan getting more and more polished with each book, which is hilarious because each book keeps getting thicker and longer. And there, a lot of people have complained, or I say a lot, some people have complained and said, well, it's because he's an indie author, and so he doesn't, he's not having these things filtered through an editor. I disagree with that personally. Are there some things in here that could have been trimmed down? Probably, I'm not going to say no, but I will definitely say that the vast majority of it that's in there, I have thoroughly enjoyed. So, yeah, I mean, for somebody to write a series that is this thick, and for me to hang with it, it says something about your level of skill as far as writing goes. So I think he's an excellent author, and I have loved this story, and I'm looking forward to jumping into Of Empires and Dust soon. But yeah, Ryan Cahill, I think, is a fantastic author. That's why he's number 9 on the list. Okay, number 8 is going to be John Gwynne. I really enjoyed John Gwynn's writing. This may actually surprise some people because I wasn't crazy about the Bloodsworn Saga, and it's the only series of his that I've read thus far. I just wasn't crazy about Fury of the Gods. The first 2 books I thought were good. I enjoyed them. I also read them sort of like right as I was getting into fantasy, and so maybe I wasn't quite ready for that type of a story yet with multiple POVs and things. But it wasn't like I got lost or anything. It's just maybe I needed to start out a little bit slower. But I really enjoyed his writing style. And let me tell you, John Gwynne can write some battle scenes. His battle scenes are some of the coolest, most well thought out and choreographed fight scenes that I've seen. I think he probably has the best battle scenes that I've ever read in a book. They really are. They're top notch. So if you're into Vikings and those big epic battles with swords and shields and axes and learning about shield walls, and yeah, then John Gwynne is definitely going to be an author for you. Like I said, Bloodsworn, it wasn't bad. It was just sort of mid for me by the end of it. And I know there's circumstances that surround that. But I will say that I'm really looking forward to jumping into The Faithful and the Fallen next year. So that's sort of my priority series for next year. And I plan to jump into that very early on, maybe even start it at the end of this year, because Malice has been sitting on my shelves for quite a while and it's kind of been staring at me. So I'm really looking forward to jumping into Faithful and the Fallen. But as an author, John Gwynne, I think he is. It's very difficult to beat somebody that can write such a compelling story with great characters and those epic battle scenes. So number 7 on this list is going to be maybe somebody that you haven't heard of before, and that is Brian Jacques. And he is the author of the Redwall series. So this was sort of the series that got me into reading in middle school. We had to pick a book from the library to read for our required reading, but we sort of had pick of the litter as far as that goes. So I was just looking for cool covers, and I'll put the book up here, but it was this book in particular. It was Lord Brocktree that really jumped out at me. That cover was so cool with the badger and the sword. And, I was just like, okay, what in the world? So this is sort of like Lord of the Rings, but with animals, and the way the back kind of described it as well. And the Lord of the Rings movies were coming out currently when I had picked this up. And so I just watched Fellowship of the Ring, and I saw this cover, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to get into the Lord of the Rings yet because it'd be over my head. But I see this cover and I'm like, okay, I'm in. And I have read, I believe there's 22 books that are in the series, and I've read probably 18 or 19 of them. There's a few here or there that I've missed. And the great thing about these books is that they're predominantly standalones within a series. So you can just pick up a singular book, open it up and read it, and you're not really going to miss a lot. There is a reading order, but it's pretty loose. Most of the time they tell you start with Redwall. I actually started, even though I picked that book up, the first book that I actually read was The Legend of Luke, which I'll put up right here. And I absolutely love that book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It is so good. But Brian Jacques, before he passed, he put out numerous books in this series, and he also did another series that I think was like a fictional pirate type series. I'm not exactly sure. I have the first book, but I haven't read it, not yet. I don't know when I'll get to it, but I absolutely loved him as an author so much that pretty much anything that I see that he has put out, I will pick up. But it's also comforting comforting for me to know that that the series that we got in the Redwall series was exactly what Brian Jacques wanted to have completed before he passed. And it's just a fantastic series all around. It's a great series for young readers to get into epic fantasy. It kind of dives into different dialects and races and those kind of things. Yeah, there's some inconsistencies, and I would highly recommend you check out Brian Lee Durfee's videos of the Redwall series, because they're absolutely hilarious and pretty spot on. But it still is one of those series that just kind of has a piece of my heart from my childhood. And so I don't see Brian Jacques ever being knocked off this list. So number 6 on this list is going to be James Islington. Now, the only 2 books I've read of James Islington's so far has been the first 2 in the Lycanius trilogy. So that is The Shadow of What Was Lost and The Echo of Things to Come. And while I don't think that James Islington is like the best skilled author, that he's super descriptive or anything like that, it isn't that. He's one of my favorites for a couple of reasons. One is that he is an excellent author, but his writing is very accessible. So while he goes into descriptors and things, he isn't overly descriptive. He doesn't bore you to death with the description of the setting or description of a character or going into these inner monologues and stuff. He really wants to keep the story moving as much as possible while still giving you as much information as he can. As far as his writing goes, I don't think he's the greatest author and he can write things. He's not in the same caliber, in my opinion, as Rothfuss is, as far as how they write, as far as their prose goes, as far as how flowery the prose is. But that's not what I'm basing it on. I'm basing it just off of sheer enjoyment. And if we're going off of sheer enjoyment, I really enjoy James Islington's style, because he's telling a story a way he wants to, in a very succinct way. And the second reason is because he's a Reformed brother. And I've mentioned this numerous times on this channel and will continue to, that there is a particular scene in book 1, the campfire scene, where a couple of our characters are going over like genuine doctrine or genuine theology, and they're sort of dissecting some of it in such a fantastic and simple way that it's beautiful. And so this was probably one of a couple of books that I've ever read in my life where I'm like grinning from ear to ear reading it, because I can see like this guy is a brother in Christ, and it's so awesome to get to see him answer these common questions that are thrown at us about, well, if God is all loving and all knowing and all powerful, why would he let bad things happen to good people, kind of thing. And it's so well done. I won't get into it here, but it is just fantastic. So yeah, James Islington is up there, and I'm really looking forward to getting into The Will of the Many and The Strength of the Few. I think I'm going to try to wrap up The Will of the Many either in November or December of this year. And I'm really looking forward to getting into that, because I know it was book of the year for a lot of people. So yeah, James Islington, that's why he's so high up on the list. He's a good brother and a good author. Okay, number 5 on this list is going to be a new author to me as of this year, and that is Larry Correia. Yeah, you guys have probably heard me talk about Larry probably ad nauseum at this point. So if y'all don't know who Larry Correia is, he is the author of the Monster Hunter International series, which I'll have here. He's also the author of the Saga of the Forgotten Warrior series, which is his epic fantasy. I think MHI is probably his more famous series, just because it has a lot more of a broad audience. I almost tell people that is the series for men who don't really like to read. I really enjoyed that series. It's just a ton of fun. It scratches that Dresden itch, but it's still different. So yeah, it's fantastic in that regard. And I do hope to jump into his epic fantasy series maybe next year. I hope sometime next year. We'll just have to see. That's a great problem to have, isn't it? That you have so many good series waiting on you that you may have to plan them out a couple years in advance. I digress. But his other new series that he has started, which he started 2 different series this year. The first being the Academy of Outcasts. Yeah, book 1, I finished it up this month, and man, it was so much fun. It was one of my favorite books of the year up to now. It is so much fun. It's fantastic. So I can't recommend that one enough. That's a great place to start for his catalog if you're interested. But then he's also putting out his American Paladin series. And I was fortunate enough to receive an arc of the graphic novel, which I really enjoyed. It was a lot shorter than I personally would have wanted, which that's great because I want more, but I can't wait for him to release it in May of next year. So that's going to be another crazy year for him because I think he's putting out book 2 in the Academy of Outcast series and the American Paladin book like within a month or two apart. So I'll be jumping on those probably day one. But yeah, his writing is just so much fun. You know, you can sit down with him and just be entertained and have a great time and have a few laughs, but then still experience that emotional investment that you have with your characters. Yeah, so Larry just does a fantastic job. Plus, he's a lot of fun to talk to. So yeah, Larry Correia, he has to be on this list at number 5. Okay, number 4 is going to be Jim Butcher. Yeah, so Jim is the author most famously of the Dresden Files series, which at this point I am caught up. And so how could he not be on this list? If there's an author out there that I've read 17 books from, yeah, he has to make the list. The Dresden Files has been one of my favorite series of all time. It's just a ton of fun. You still get that real deep character depth. You get some real emotional investment too. There's some real emotional highs and lows. But Harry Dresden is going to be an all-time favorite character for me. His stories are fantastic. And yes, it's in a series, and yes, you do need to read them sequentially, but they're sort of like, you know, people have labeled them monster of the week, and I can agree with that to a degree, but you do have sort of like, here's your smaller story. Here's what's going on right now. But there's this underlying thread, this underlying story that's pulling you along through the entire series. And as you progress through the books, it definitely ramps up. So yeah, it's been just fantastic. It's been one of my favorite series of all time. Unless something happens, it will stay that way. I've absolutely loved the Dresden Files, but I have yet to dive into his Codex Alera series, which I really want to, and I think I'm going to start that next year as well, along with his other series, which is the Cinderspire series, which I've heard a lot about. I've heard it's kind of steampunky, and I know I think there's 2 books out right now, but I know that book 18 in the Dresden Files comes out in January, right around my birthday, so I plan to pick that up, and that'll be a day one read for me. So yeah, Jim Butcher goes without saying for me. He's just fantastic, so he's got to be near the top of this list. So number 3 is going to be another new author to me as of this year, and that is Christopher Rocchio. Yeah, Christopher Rocchio, man, the Sun Eater series has just blown me away. This is, I mean, as of right now, it's my 3rd favorite series of all time. Sci-fi, fantasy, you name it. It is so fantastic. So at the time of recording this, I have finished up Ashes of Man, and I'm about to jump into Disquiet Gods. And I've heard from pretty much everybody that's talked to me has said like the Disquiet Gods is gonna just knock all the other ones off the top shelf for me. So I'm really looking forward to that, which has also been part of the reason why I've been hesitant to pick it up, because I know how much I'm going to like it. And so I was kind of waiting to read Stinker to pick it up, was to get me back into it. And I also really wanted to be excited about the story before I dove back in, because I do know that there's a little bit of a break between Ashes of Man and Disquiet Gods. Christopher Rocchio, man, is such a good writer. He is such an intellectual, philosophical, deep character study type of writer. The descriptors and things like that he uses, for me, they're much more introspective. And so that's really what the series has been a lot more for me personally, is it has been a series of introspection and character study. It has blown me away. And for those of you that know me and have followed my history a little bit with the Sun Eater series, you know that I really struggled with book 1, but man, after about the second half of book 1, 75% of the way into book 1, like, I was sold. At the end of Howling Dark, you know, if you know, you know. So if you finish Howling Dark and you don't like it, this will not be the series for you. But yeah, Christopher Rocchio, man, is so great. Also, his personal story is fantastic. I absolutely love it. You guys can look into that. It's one of my favorite stories, and you can see his own personal transformation from the time that he wrote book 1 till now. And you can see those things woven into not only this series, but in just about every aspect of his life. So I'm really, really looking forward to just diving into more Christopher Rocchio. So he's going to be a day one read or an instant buy author from now on. Okay, so number 2 is going to be J.K. Rowling. Yeah, this is sort of a no-brainer for me. This is the author of the Harry Potter series, for anybody that doesn't know, which obviously everybody knows. This is one of my top series of all time. Now, some of you may be going, oh, because I know you've got two different series that you kind of had tied for favorite author. Well, the reason why I put her as number 2 is a couple of reasons. Number one is that this was the series that I sort of dove into during difficult times in my childhood. And so I hold this series so near and dear to my heart, and I reread it every few years and enjoy it more every time that I read it. This has just been that really wholesome read, that's those stories of hope and friendship and courage. Man, it's exactly what a young boy or a young lady needs during that time. That story will just it would be very difficult for that story to ever be toppled, maybe with one exception. I don't want to be one of those people who's like, it changed my life, but I don't necessarily know that it changed my life in that regard, but it definitely means a lot to me. It definitely was a place of comfort for me. Being able to escape to Hogwarts and be with Harry and his friends and to go on this journey with them was really meaningful to me. It was very important for my development. So yeah, she's got to be right near the top of the list. Which leads me to number 1. And this is probably going to come as a surprise to no one, and that is J.R.R. Tolkien. Yeah, he's my number 1 favorite author. Even though, I had Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings tied as my top 2 favorite series of all time, Tolkien, he just holds a special place sort of above all the rest for me because he wrote, in my opinion, the greatest fictional story of all time. The Lord of the Rings story, I mean, it has genuinely changed the way that I think about things. It has made me more empathetic. It has made me far more considerate of other people, or to genuinely think about the circumstances that they're going through. I mean, he means so much to me. Like I have scripture tattooed on me in Elvish, as Isaiah 38:17, by the way. So yeah, how could he not be number 1, right? He has just written. The story that he has told is so vast and deep and meaningful and influential that it's really going to be difficult for anybody to ever knock him off the top of the chart. And part of it, if I'm being just completely transparent with you, is that he's no longer with us. And so the works that we have, we're not going to find some sort of secret writings or some stuff that he didn't publish or whatever, where he says some really outlandish things or anything. So, he finished his race well. It just adds an extra layer of trust for this author, knowing that because he's not going to put out anything like wild or outlandish or nefarious in that way, or that he's not going to fall like so many of my favorite authors have, or succumb to certain pressures and things, that yeah, because he finished his race well, I know that I can always go back to his stories, and that those stories will never be tarnished because we have exactly what he wanted us to have in the exact form. So yeah, Tolkien, by far number 1 favorite author of all time, and he's probably at the top of most people's list for a reason. So guys, that's my top 10 authors of all time. Let me know down in the comment section if there's somebody that maybe I forgot about, or somebody that or maybe there's somebody that you completely disagree with, or whatever, or maybe just leave me your list down below, or make your own list. Yeah, I would love to see some of you guys put out your own video and make your own top 10 list of your favorite authors. I love watching those. Everybody does. Everybody loves a good top 10 list, but favorite authors, because I would love to see some new authors maybe supplant some of these on the list if I were to make this again. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from some of you guys. Guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you on the next one.